Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show where we're going to be exploring how to become a Canadian citizen. Now, you've already gone through the first part of this video, hopefully, and by now you do know a few of the initial steps. So just to make it easier for you to make the connection, we're just going to have our expert, Mr. Zianakri, go through those steps for you in a very quick recap. So yes, Mr. Zia, please, if you could do the honors of doing a recap for us.
Yeah, thank you very much. So in the last discussion, what I tried to explain, not necessarily the steps, the mindset that you need to have. You need to have the faith in the system. They understand that the Canadian system is transparent and it's fair. So you don't have to be afraid, or don't have to be nervous. It's straightforward. It's not simple. I'm not saying that it's simple, but everything is clear if you do the right investigation. And you need to have a lot of patience because it takes time. So if someone is telling you, yeah, it will happen tomorrow, it's not going to happen tomorrow. You have to have a consistent effort and consistent with patience, then you'll get through. And the other thing that we spoke about is to avoid how to protect yourself from fraud and ghost consultants. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. We also compared a little bit the difference between being eligible for a certain program,
exactly,
and then the probability of getting in under that program.
Yeah. So I explained that I always think immigration as a process. There are different programs. Those are called immigration program, and there is an office and people behind that program. Right. So they devise the eligibility factors and the process and the outcome. So eligible, if you are eligible, it does not mean that you will actually get the immigration, because certain programs they are based on high demand. So it's not first come, first serve, but they actually put you in a pool. If you are eligible, you are in a pool. So the example is that there is a waiting room and there is a window, which takes the real application. So there is an eligibility factor to get into the waiting room. Mm-hmm. And in the waiting room, is not that you can come first, that you will be served first. Right. It will be basically, you will be served based on your merit among the people already in the waiting room. That's called pool. So they will call the names of the people who are on the top of the pool. So it means that coming into that room is your eligibility, and you may be eligible, but you may be sitting there for 2 years without getting called in. Why? Because you were not, your score was not high enough to be called for the application itself. So you need to understand the difference in the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is that's what makes most people nervous, right? The fact that they have to wait so long, and usually there is no communication from the offices during that time frame, right? You just have to be patient. Do they let you know?
Yeah, sometimes, as I said, the system is transparent, so they actually know when they would let you know and when they would not let you know. Mm-hmm. So if you know that process, you know that at this stage you will be notified or not notified. Mm-hmm. So and almost the time frame, you would know beforehand that how long will it take and how long you would not be notified. So there will be a complete silence.
I see. If something is wrong with your application, something's missing, they do let you know.
Yeah, so normally the process is that once you submit your application, they check for a completeness of the application, not on the merits, not on the individual items, but they see whether everything that is required is there in the application.
Okay.
So once they do that, then they issue a receipt or a kind of acknowledgement. Once you have that acknowledgement, it means that at least your application is submitted. If not, then they actually return your application so you can complete it. Okay. See,
Okay.
because they don't want to take in that application and after few months come back to you, "Oh, you just forgot to submit one essential form."
I see. Okay, that's good. If something's missing, you will know right away.
Yeah.
So those were, thank you so much for recapping that and answering, something that just popped into my head with that discussion. Now moving forwards, what would be that next step
Yeah.
after what we've just discussed?
Yeah. So those are the concepts that you need to understand, and they apply to everything related to immigration. Now that you need to understand that what type of immigrations are available in Canada. So overall, there are three major categories that Canada takes people in. Number one is the family immigration, which like some Canadian got married to non-Canadian, and that
Right.
person wants to sponsor the spouse
Mhm.
or the children. So, or parents, grandparents, those fall into that category.
Right.
That is family reunion. The other category is the people who need a shelter, like a humanitarian based. Like
Right.
you must have heard Syrian refugees. So Canada has agreements with the United Nations that internationally the people who are displaced because of the situation in their home country, or they are stateless, like they don't have any country anymore. Those type of people, Canada take a quota out of that,
I see.
and those are the people who need shelter
Mhm.
and safe to save their lives and their livelihoods and their families. Canada take that as immigrant as well. So those are the two categories which we would not be discussing in this series of
Mhm.
discussions.
Right.
The third category is the economic immigration.
Mhm.
Economic immigration is the type of category which brings talent or investment or both to Canada.
Mhm.
So as I said in the last video, that essentially is a business model. So you give something and you get something. So what Canada gets is talent
Right. Yes.
and investment to enhance its own economy. It needs people, and it needs talent, and it needs business. So this is the category that we are talking about.
Mhm.
In this category, if you can see, there are two broader categories within this subcategory, two
Okay.
broader subcategories.
Mhm.
And those are like the people who will bring talent or the people who will bring investment.
Mhm.
Okay. So in a nutshell, the people who would come in Canada and will become an employee are the skilled workers.
Okay. Right.
Okay, so you must have heard a lot about federal skilled worker program, a
Oh
skilled
yes.
worker,
That's
semi-skilled worker,
mhm.
a skilled worker, semi-skilled worker. This is the bulk of the category that belong to people who are professionals, qualified, educated, and have certain expertise in certain field.
Mhm.
Okay, those are called high skilled workers.
Okay.
There could be some semi-skilled workers or low-skilled workers, and that could be carpenters, cooks, waiters. Those categories are low-skilled workers.
Mhm.
And there are even lower skilled workers as farmers, you
Right.
know, you know, mm, uh, what do you call that? Long-term care workers, like
Right.
people
Yes.
who care for children,
Mhm.
child care workers, things like that. So every, as I said before, every type of skill set is required in Canada. So they have certain programs for every skill set. So from that perspective, this is the skilled type, meaning that the person would come to Canada and be an employee of
Right.
some organization or someone.
Mhm.
The other category is the investment category, meaning that someone will bring an investment into Canada
Mhm.
and will employ someone else. So will become an employer.
I see.
So two categories. One is that if you are coming here to become an employee, or you are coming here to become an employer. Okay.
Right.
Some people do qualify in both, and some people may qualify in one of those only. Okay.
I see.
So these are the two categories that we'll continue discussing further. So you would either fall in one of those, or if you are lucky, you may be qualified for both.
Now, when we talk about the people who come in with investment or want to come in and become employers as such, is there an amount that they should keep in mind? I mean, a cutoff?
Yes, yes. So as I said before, like it's easier to understand that there are eligibility factors for each and every program. And when we say the skilled worker, there are several programs for skilled workers. If we say investor, there are several programs for investors.
Wow.
So
Okay.
each, yeah, so there's not only one program. So what happens that each individual program has eligibility factors defined and written.
So
Okay.
within investors, there are
And
further subdivisions.
subdivision, because there are different, because these are delegated to provinces. So
Oh,
each province have their own entrepreneur and investor program, and they do define their own requirements based on their local requirements.
fascinating. Fascinating. Right. So now I can
Yeah.
see now how this would be indeed subject for a whole separate discussion, because each category seems to have further subdivisions and further criteria attached to it. So
Yes.
perfect. So I think for today we should stop here, because all of this contains so much food for thought, and there's so much information here that we want to keep this short, and we want to keep it easy to comprehend. So in our next episode, I think we shall talk about, we can talk about, let's say, Mr. A, who wants to immigrate under a certain criteria. Maybe we can talk about a skilled worker. That's what most of us, are. So let's just think about somebody like that, and we shall take our next episode in pursuit of Mr. A, who wants to maybe come to Canada as a skilled worker. Thank you so much, Mr.
Yes.
Zia, for being
you.
a part of this program series, and we shall see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.